Hello, welcome back to the video series for Geographical Data Analysis, PR 300 at WVU. As you can see, I haven't even erased the board this time. We're continuing with multivariate regression, now looking at presentation. So what we include, what we do not include, and how we make sure to interpret the results of our multivariate regression for our audience. I have already basically stripped out from the larger output you will get from Geoda or ArcGIS to illustrate what gets included. You will have a table that looks like this, or fairly similar. That says, here's what the coefficient is, here's its p-value. There are some situations where, and I see this a lot in the academic scientific literature as a shorthand with the p-value. I'm putting it here because it's something you may have seen or may see in the future. I actually would encourage and strongly recommend that you use the p-values themselves instead of this shorthand. But I'm putting it here that way in case if you do see it, you at least know what it means. So we may have they would put kind of a star system to say if you are picking a threshold of 0.1, anything with a dot or any stars, you're going to call it significant. If you pick your threshold of 0.05, then something with one star, the income here is significant. Anything that's blank, forget about it. Education, again, would have 3 stars because it's less than the lowest one I put here. And nothing is in between these two. You may see this. As I said, I would recommend putting the actual values there because that way you can see things like, okay, if you just saw a dot and you would pick 0.05, you might completely dismiss it. If you see something that's 0.051, okay, that will have the dot, but you might be giving a little bit more generosity, let's say, in your interpretation. Depends on how strict you wish to be in adhering to those thresholds. And as we'll see later, as in upcoming weeks, towards the end of the semester, there's actually a surprising amount of debate within the statistics community about the value of even having any threshold whatsoever. So you may see this, but as I said, I encourage using the actual p-values. You will also have the overall R squared, adjusted R squared, and that relevant p-value. So that will also be there, just as you included it within your regression write-up. If relevant, because we didn't get a straight up R squared or p-value on that from the spatial lag or spatial error regression, you can also include this AIC. The main thing in terms, so that's the presentation part. What do you include in your table? What information do you give? The information is mentioned here. in the discussion, how you interpret your results, the big trouble spot that people will encounter is forgetting the difference between the marginal effect and the overall. So to make sure you interpret any coefficient within that context of, even if it is somewhat unlikely in the real world, so to speak, even if it is unlikely, you interpret with that marginal idea of every other independent variable being constant. What this does is it gives you sort of a buffer where when you are saying this is a significant effect, you have as much confidence as possible when you say that yes, as I increase the income, there actually will be an improvement in people's health insurance rates. So to make sure you have that level of interpretation and constancy in your writing. Those are different trouble spots for presenting and strategies for presenting multivariate regression. In the next set of videos, we will move on to geographically weighted regression. So thank you for watching. Have a good one.